Snow fell softly through the winter twilight as Emma Walsh stood in line outside St. Michael's community kitchen, holding her 3-year-old daughter Lily close to keep them both warm. The little girl wore a pink winter coat and matching hat that Emma had found at a thrift store, and she clutched her mother's neck with complete trust. Unaware of how far they had fallen, Emma was 28 years old and homeless. 6 months ago, she had been evicted from her apartment after losing her job as a receptionist. Her ex-boyfriend, Lily's father, had abandoned them both when Emma got pregnant, and her parents had passed away years before. With no family, no savings, and no safety net, Emma and Lily had been living in a shelter, and some nights in her car when the shelter was full. Tonight was one of the cold nights that drove them to the soup kitchen, where at least they could have a warm meal and a few hours respatting from the harsh reality of their situation. Emma tried to shield Lily from the worst of it, tried to make their circumstances seem like an adventure, but the fear gnawed at her constantly. The line moved slowly forward, and Emma found herself looking through the frosted windows of the community center at the volunteers serving food inside. Her breath caught in her throat when she saw him. Even after 10 years, she would have recognized him anywhere. The same dark hair, though styled differently now. The same strong features, though matured and refined. The same way he moved with quiet confidence. But everything else about him had changed. He wore an expensive dark blazer that probably cost more than Emma had earned in a month at her old job. And he carried himself with the bearing of someone who had succeeded beyond measure. Ethan Morrison. Her first love. The boy she had dated all through high school, the one she had planned a future with before life had pulled them in different directions. Emma felt panic rise in her chest. She could not let him see her like this. Homeless, desperate, standing in line at a soup kitchen with a child she was struggling to feed. She turned to leave, but Lily chose that moment to start crying, cold and tired and hungry. "Shh, baby. It's okay," Emma whispered, but Lily's cries grew louder. "Mommy, I'm hungry," Lily sobbed. "You promised we could eat." Emma felt tears burn her eyes. She could not leave now, could not disappoint her daughter again. She took a breath and stayed in line, hoping somehow Ethan would not notice her, would not recognize the girl he had once loved in this broken woman holding a crying child. But when they finally reached the serving area, Ethan looked up from the soup he was ladling into bowls, and their eyes met. Emma saw the recognition flash across his face, followed by shock, then something that looked like pain. "Emma?" he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Hello, Ethan," Emma managed, her voice shaking. "It's been a long time." Lily had stopped crying and was watching this exchange with curious eyes. Ethan looked at the little girl, then back at Emma, his expression carefully neutral despite the questions she could see forming. "This is my daughter, Lily," Emma said quietly, answering the unspoken question. "She's 3. "She's beautiful," Ethan said, and his voice was genuine. He filled 2 bowls with soup, added extra bread, and handed them to Emma with hands that trembled slightly. "Please take these, and there are tables in the back where it's warmer." "Thank you," Emma whispered, unable to meet his eyes. She found a table in the corner, settling Lily into a chair and helping her with the hot soup. The little girl ate hungrily, and Emma felt grateful that at least tonight her daughter would not go to bed with an empty stomach. Emma was so focused on Lily that she did not notice Ethan approaching until he set down a tray with hot chocolate. "Cookies and a small stuffed bear? I thought your daughter might like these," he said, sitting down across from them without asking permission. "If that's okay." Lily's eyes went wide with delight at the bear. "For me?" she asked. "For you," Ethan confirmed, smiling at her. "What's your name?" "Lily," the little girl said shyly, clutching the bear. "Like the flower." "That's a beautiful name," Ethan said. Then he looked at Emma, and she could see him struggling with what to say. "Emma, I don't want to intrude, but can we talk?" "Please?" Emma nodded, unable to find words. How could she explain the distance between who she had been and who she had become? How could she face the boy who had known her when she still had dreams, when anything had seemed possible? "What happened?" Ethan asked gently. "The last I heard, you were working for that law firm downtown." "I was," Emma said quietly. But I got pregnant and the father left and my parents had already passed away and I was alone. I tried to make it work, tried to keep my job and take care of a baby, but childcare was expensive and I was always tired. And eventually I made too many mistakes and they let me go. She paused, fighting back tears. I burned through my savings trying to keep our apartment, but I could not find another job that paid enough to cover rent and daycare. 6 months ago, we were evicted. We've been staying at shelters when there's room, sometimes sleeping in my car. Tonight was too cold for the car, so we came here. Ethan's face had gone pale. Emma, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, Emma said. It's not anyone's fault. It's just life. Where's Lily's father? Ethan asked, his voice tight. Gone, Emma said simply. He wanted me to have an abortion. When I refused, he left and never came back. I have not heard from him in 3 years. Ethan was quiet for a long moment, watching Lily play with her new bear, his jaw tight with emotion. This kitchen, he finally said, I fund it. I've been funding it for 5 years, ever since I sold my first company. I come here once a week to volunteer because I never want to forget that success is meaningless if you're not using it to help others. Emma stared at him, stunned. You own this place? I fund it through my foundation, Ethan corrected. But yes, I never imagined I would find you here. If I had known you were struggling, Emma, if I had known you needed help, I would have moved heaven and earth to find you. We lost touch, Emma said. After you went to college in California and I stayed here, we just drifted apart. I thought about you, Ethan admitted. More than I should have. I wondered what happened to you. If you were happy. If you ever thought about me. I built businesses, made money, achieved everything I set out to accomplish, but I never found what we had together. No relationship ever measured up to what I felt for you. Emma felt tears stream down her face. Ethan, I'm homeless. I'm feeding my daughter at a soup kitchen. I'm not the girl you remember. I'm broken and desperate and barely holding on. You're not broken, Ethan said fiercely. You're a mother doing everything possible to protect her child. You're working 3 times as hard as I ever did just to survive. That's not weakness, Emma, that's strength. He reached across the table and took her hand. Let me help you. Please, let me help you get back on your feet. I can't accept charity, Emma said, even as she wanted desperately to say yes. I won't be your pity project. You're not a pity project, Ethan said. You're the woman I never stopped loving. The woman I spent 10 years trying to replace and never could. You're Lily's mother, and she deserves better than sleeping in shelters. Please, Emma, don't let pride keep you from accepting help when you need it. Over the following weeks, Ethan arranged for Emma and Lily to stay in a furnished apartment he owned, one he insisted was sitting empty anyway. He helped Emma update her resume and connected her with job opportunities through his network. He bought Lily clothes and toys and books, and he spent time with them both, taking them to parks and children's museums, showing Emma that life could be more than just surviving. Emma resisted at first, convinced this was temporary, that Ethan would eventually realize he had made a mistake and disappear like everyone else had. But Ethan kept showing up. He learned Lily's favorite foods and bedtime stories. He held Emma when she cried from the stress of rebuilding her life. He was patient and kind and completely present in a way Emma had forgotten was possible. 3 months after that night at the soup kitchen, Emma started a new job as an office manager at a small marketing firm. It paid enough for her to afford her own apartment, to provide stability for Lily, to finally breathe without the constant fear of homelessness. She tried to move out of Ethan's apartment, to stand on her own feet, but he stopped her at the door with tears in his eyes. Don't go, he said. Not because you need me, but because I need you. Because I fell in love with you when we were 17, and I'm in love with you again now. Because Lily calls me Mr. Ethan and asks when I'm coming over, and hearing that makes me happier than any business success ever has. He took her hands. I'm not asking you to stay out of obligation or gratitude. I'm asking you to stay because I love you. Because you and Lily are the family I did not know I was missing. Because every moment with you both feels like coming home. Emma looked at this man who had found her at her lowest point and had seen not a charity case, but the woman he loved. She thought about how he read bedtime stories to Lily with the same patience he brought to running companies worth millions. She thought about how he had given her not just money but dignity, not just help but hope. "I love you too," she whispered. "I think I never stopped." They were married a year later, in a small ceremony at the community kitchen where they had found each other again. Lily served as flower girl, and many of the people who had stood in line with Emma that cold night were invited as guests, because Ethan and Emma wanted to remember where they had been and celebrate how far they had come. Ethan adopted Lily formally, giving her his name and his heart. They continued to volunteer at the soup kitchen together, teaching Lily that having enough meant sharing with those who did not. And Emma started a support program for single mothers, using her experience to help other women navigate the impossible challenges of raising children alone. Sometimes the people who loved us first are the ones who find us when we have lost ourselves. And sometimes the greatest blessing comes not when we are at our best, but when we are at our most desperate. And someone chooses to see our worth anyway. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories about second chances, love that never dies, and the power of showing up for each other when it matters most. Comment below and share about a time when someone helped you during your darkest hour, or when you reconnected with someone from your past in an unexpected way. Your story could give someone else the courage to accept help or offer it.